Welcome to Connect, the podcast for the California MBA, featuring one-on-one interviews with movers and shakers in the mortgage industry. I'm Paul Gigliotti, CEO of the California MBA, and I'm so thrilled you could join us today. Before we get into today's guests, which I know you're going to love the conversation, I'd love to give a huge shout out and thank you for our 2025 President's Council sponsor companies, AmeriHome, Consolidated Analytics, Funding Shield, Guild Mortgage, Rocket Mortgage, Wiener, Brodsky, Kidder, and Western Alliance Bank. These companies provide such a tremendous level of financial support for our association, and we greatly appreciate their continued efforts. So now let's dive in. I am so delighted to introduce our guest for today, Jen Falk, Chief Operating Officer of Kind Lending. Kind Lending is all over the place. They're making such a huge splash right now. Jen brings more than 2 decades of leadership in mortgage operations, transforming, and culture building. Prior to joining Kind Lending, Jen served in several senior roles at firms including Stearns Lending, and most recently at Tri Pointe Connect. At Kind Lending, Jen has taken on this enormous challenge of scaling operations, embedding technology and analytics, and maintaining a distinct people-first culture that's becoming a hallmark of the business. Today, we're going to talk about leadership and culture, the evolving non-QM market, hot topic, and also another hot topic, AI tools and how they're driving for the future of lending. Jen, thank you for being here and welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, I'm so excited. I'm excited for you in your role, and I appreciate this opportunity to have to chat about some really fun things today. So I'm really looking forward to talking through culture and then that non-QM space and just our ever-evolving industry.
Yeah, we're going to have a good conversation, kind of a mouthful, if you will. So you ready to dive in?
I think so. Let's go.
All right, so top of mind, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm a huge culture king. I have a nonprofit, Access 360 Lift, which is all about educating individuals to come into the industry. And it's also based off of supporting individuals in coming to the table with a whole self approach. So very cultural driven as well. And we all know Kind Lending has this very distinct culture, very fun, human, forward thinking, which reflects Glenn and Mindy, their leadership style, and yours, which is a great combination. But I've also sat in your seat before as the Pinnacle or as COO at Pinnacle Home Loans. So I know what it's like to be a chief operating officer. From your perspective as COO, what's it like to operationalize that vision day to day, that people first? And if you wouldn't mind dropping some information on how Glenn's influence helps shape the way Kind leads and grows.
Gosh, so it is an incredible opportunity to try to build a culture, right? You really, when you start with culture, I feel like the one thing that we have an edge over is we have our chief kindness officer. So that gives us a leg up, right? Mindy Stearns being our chief kindness officer and permeating how we grow our daily culture. And so you ask, how do we operationalize that? Well, as a 6-year-old organization, we grew from 0 to, we're close to 1,000 employees now with between all of our Kind and joint ventures. And it does take daily work for us to make sure that we are connected in the people way. So we are people first. We are a technology company that does mortgages, but we are really focused on what our people bring to the table. So each day, we do a number of different things. We have the We Hear You campaign. So we share with our teams, we listen to them. And there is no one in our company that is unavailable. And that includes all the way up to Glenn. So you ask, how does Glenn's how does he bring into our culture? Everyone in this organization knows that if you do need something, you can contact Glenn, you can contact Mindy, you can contact me. And I think what that does is that breaks down this kind of construct of, we're over here and you're over there and we do this and you do that. There's none of that in this organization. It's all of us are here for the same reason and for the same objectives. So we really work hard on our communication. And I will say this, Paul, we're not great at some things. We work at it every day. It is a job. And we come in with that focus and that mindset that, hey, you know what? If I didn't get that right, I'm going to go at it again and I'm going to work with the team and we're going to let's work together. Let's take feedback and let's, build on that.
Yeah, and that is so important from an operator's point of view because you're constantly reevaluating workflow, what technology goes in, the loan life cycle, and how many touches you want to have on it and can afford to have on it. And so that people first, I mean, taking constructive insight and guidance from not only your operators, but production team, your partners, your correspondent partners, your broker partners, your production partners. All I can imagine as you're talking, Jen, is that it must be so empowering within the walls of Kind. Like everybody knows they have a voice. And so what they do really matters. So in turn, the output of their work is probably pretty superior to a culture where that's not really a big value.
So I appreciate you for recognizing that. And what I will say is that we get our best ideas from the people that do the work. So instead of it being a top-down approach, we really work for it to be the bottom up. And again, sometimes we don't get it right. And sometimes we think, stuff looks good on paper, we get started with it. It's when we invite our team in and we say, here's what it looks like. What are we missing? What are we getting wrong or what have we not captured for you? And so for us, really expanding out into the furthest reaches of the organization, and that includes even, Paul, some of our entry level type roles, having a conversation. I mean, I've done several one-on-ones with people that are down at the very lowest level at that intake, space, saying like, what is it we can be doing differently and better? And they have the best ideas. I some of it is like, that's brilliant. I absolutely. And they have great ideas about automating things. They have great ideas about leveraging different technology and things that they've seen and heard. And so it really boils down to, using your listening ears, listening to the team, inviting their feedback. And no, you can't, not everybody's idea gets to make it to the end line, right? But empowering them to be part of the solution really creates that participation. Change management is incredibly difficult, but
Yeah,
when they feel they are part of owning the change, it does create a very different dynamic.
it absolutely does. And kudos to you and your team members for living and breathing that. A lot of people talk it, but I've been in the walls of Kind. I've had a lot of business dealings with individuals, and you feel that regardless if you're talking to tech, ops, production, high level intake. Everybody has that sense of I'm here for a purpose, and this is our team. And I think what you talked about what I pulled away were so many great ideas, but you talked about listening and shifting and paying attention. And in our industry, that's really important because we serve at the end of the day the consumer. And sometimes our industry is very slow to adopt, and the consumer is over here saying, I need this, I've changed. And we've got so much red tape and so much policy that it takes us a hot second to get there. And that brings me up to something else I wanted to talk to you about. You and I have had, business dealings previously with Prudent AI, and we've talked about the non-QM market space. And to me, that's a lender or an industry paying attention. What does the consumer really need? The non-QM products are playing a bigger role than ever. And I think it's going to continue as the market shifts and the borrower's needs evolve. I would love to hear how Kind is approaching this non-QM marketplace, and how do you ensure you're balancing opportunity with sound risk management? Because when people think of non-QM, they go to, oh, is that getting close to hard money or alt A? So how do you balance that opportunity with sound risk management?
I mean, such great questions. I think that non-QM space is going to continue to grow. So to your point, the population of buyers and borrowers that fall into that area is, it's expanding. It's expanding even in different ways. I'm going to give you an example. Like even some of the traditional loans, it would be maybe it would be normally considered in a jumbo space. In some cases, they can get a better product when they move into non-QM. And so there's kind of breaking down a barrier of thinking like, oh, that's alt. It's not alt. What it is looking at the best product and how you're going to best serve the consumer. And so I think that's one thing that I'm incredibly proud of our team here at Kind Lending with building that non-QM space and really, starting with a place of we want to do good business. And, clearly in the mortgage industry, we all want to do good business. So you ask about sound risk practices. We have a number of different tools that we leverage. Clearly, we appreciate we have an AI, we're using our AI guidelines, which are helping facilitate faster, responses for our underwriting team. So it's giving them a faster and more concise way of looking at the loan and the scenario that they're working on. But also, I mean, like we use our prudent AI income calculator, which I have to tell you, Paul, it really was a game changer. Having a tool like that is a game changer. So instead of wading through stacks and stacks of, bank statements and returns and those kinds of things, our underwriting team can focus on looking at the big picture versus, really trying to get into the detail of then what creates a picture for them. And we, of course, we have third-party tools we're using. We've got some of our different we use a TPR firm and we've got our quality assurance and we're looking at our loans and we're looking at trends. And then we do regular training. And so I think the training piece of it will never go away, even with AI tools. You'll just train them to different, avenues.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this leads me into my question that I want to talk about technology or around technology. The AI conversation, which really, it's been very fascinating to me is right up until about the time of National back in October, there was fear of AI. And now that fear has seemed to subside a little bit. So now there seems to be a lot of talk around AI and how it's changing lending from, what happens in underwriting, obviously, to the borrower experience. And the excitement for me is the AI chat has left, like you have a chat bot. Like we're actually really talking about what AI does because an AI chatbot is not AI. Where do you see the practical value today of AI and how might those AI tools help shape the future? Let's stay specifically on non-QM or specialized lending. Like how can it break those barriers down from your perspective as an operator?
Yeah. What I like the most about AI and how we can leverage it is that it takes those complex things that our human brains have to take a little longer to think through. It takes those complex things and instatizes them. Is that a word? Instatize?
Yeah.
It
We're
instatizes
going
them.
to coin it.
It's my word.
Yeah.
Okay. So what it does though is it takes something that may take our brain, 30 minutes or an hour, and if there's interruptions, all of those things, it takes those and it hands it back to us in a very quick, palatable format. And so when I look at AI and I look at how we're going to use AI, we're using it today, it really is intended to simplify the process. We will continue to have our team looking at the holistic picture, right? There may be some things that we insert AI that's a little bit more on the repetitive nature side, but when you look at the whole risk of a file, I think pulling together those pieces, letting our team we're serving it up. Like I mentioned, I don't need you to go spend 30 minutes crunching data to get to a point. The point is delivered to you. Now you can look at it in a faster manner. And I think that there's a lot of, I'm glad that you brought up, there's a lot of fear around AI and it's like the AI replacement. I am just here to say, no matter what, Kind Lending, our model will never replace that you pick up the phone and call and we answer it. And so, the human to human interaction will always be there. What will happen is we will maximize what our people can be doing by giving them AI assist. So our underwriters talk on the phone with our brokers, with, our sales partners. And that frees them up. That gives them the time and the capacity to do more of that, personal, whereas then the workload continues on behind them. So I mean, we're super excited. We have a VP of AI strategy who has outlined, where we're going. We're very, very excited to embrace it. I think it's taking what is out there and then deciding how you are going to create for your organization. It's not a one size fits all approach.
Right,
So
right.
I think that's the key.
Yeah. And what I've been you're spot on. It's not a one size fits all. And it doesn't have to be, because the AI solutions, I just sounded like my grandmother, the World Wide Web. AI solutions are so nimble and agile and becoming more and more cost effective that really anybody can implement them for any need, depending on size, business channel, who their customer is. If they want to remain that very small boutique, I talk to my customer every day, that's great. So then you would bring AI in more for organizing your files, organizing who you're supposed to talk to, so that you don't have to scrub your 1003 and make sure that you've got, the correct amount of years in the current employer, and does that match the current pay stub. So I love the fact that it's really opening up. And I also love the fact that, in these last two questions, what you really talked about is the heart and kindness of the human doing their job to provide support, whether that support is to a broker, a consumer, your team members, you providing support to Glenn or Mindy or Dell or whatever the case may be. Your time is freed up a little bit more. I know it's still impacted, but a little bit more because of AI technology. And I think that's where the bonus round is in all of this, right?
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head. It's intended, like I said, to create the capacity for us to do the things that are not really replicated in the AI space. Humans need they need interaction. We need I like to know that I'm dealing with you, Paul. I don't, in the end, for me, if you can issue 10 loan decisions a day or two, if mine is one of your two or one of your 10, I'm happy. So, our goal as the lender then is to help our underwriter get to that place where they can serve more customers and not compromise this human interaction we have. And then again, like for us, AI has been phenomenal. Like our scenario desk positively loves it. She can type in the scenario and she gets an instant answer, and it points her right back to the guideline it came from. And it's just one of those tools. She can serve more customers faster. She can get good, clean information back to them too, because it's a very, intuitive process. So I think that as we go forward in the evolution of it, I mean, I'm excited to see where it's going, and just really excited to see how we're going to lean more into it. And then in the non-QM space, I really think it's going to open a lot more doors, just in general. And maybe there's a non-QM AI approval process that can simplify and make it faster for everybody involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that out there and a lot of stuff coming. Jen, this was such an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your thoughtfulness, your insight into what makes work fun for you. I saw your passion, and also, opening up the door a little bit to those that might not know about Kind Lending, the culture and the leadership, and what you bring to the table for it.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's always a pleasure. I enjoy our chats and really just look forward to seeing where things are going.
Absolutely. To our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Connect, the California MBA podcast. Be sure to subscribe, share, and stay connected as we continue to explore people and ideas driving our industry forward. Until next time, stay inspired, stay grateful, and keep building with purpose.